G'day everyone. Now that I've had this Sigma lens, the 105, for a couple of weeks, I thought I'd give a final summary about how it went. And I did want to thank C.R.Kennedy for lending me this lens. I really appreciate that, due to the fact it's really hard to try and get these sort of lenses in Australia for a review situation, and they've been fantastic, and they asked me for nothing basically. They said just review it as you see it, which is really great. So what I've thought about this over the last couple of weeks, I've given this a really fair test. In other words, I've tried to use it in sports situations where I was using it in a boat and it was going around like this. It was that rough in the boat, shooting some kids in the back on that on like a blow-up raft, and it went amazingly well with the tracking in the A9. That's what I've been using to do this over the last few weeks. The thing too with this is it is a little bit heavy, but if you do hold it underneath here, it balances quite well. Look, you wouldn't want to hold it for a whole wedding, but it does work quite well if you balance it like that, and that's how I did shoot with this. I've really enjoyed doing it. This is my lovely granddaughter, Paisha. Say hi, Paisha. Hi. So a couple of things that I've noticed. Low light focus has been incredible. It's been very, very fast with the tracking, particularly on the A9, and the results have been outstanding. In fact, one of the great things about this lens is I was a fair way back, say from the shoot that I did with Matisse in Echuca, and I was still able to shoot at 1.4, and the background was nice and soft due to the fact that I could shoot at 1.4 on this. So that is a really great feature with this lens, that you can shoot wide open and still separate your subject away from the background. The images were super sharp, I mean really sharp, the sharpest that I've sort of seen in any lens that I've used. I've just bought the Sony 135, so I will let you know how that goes, and I'll be shortly also getting a Sigma 135 from C.R.Kennedy as well that I can test as well, and I'm really looking forward to that. A couple of issues. Look, there was an issue if you're talking about if you're shooting directly into the sun. There is a bit of flare that's involved, but I'm sure that's due to the fact that this is so big at the front, and it's quite easy to eliminate depending on where you point the actual camera, or you can always add contrast back in post later on. I didn't really come across it much at all though. There was only a couple of times where I noticed that flare to be there. There was also some reports that people were saying that if it was heavily backlit that it had trouble focusing. Well, I did find that it missed a couple of shots, but nearly overall most of them were in perfect focus, and you can see that as I'm showing these shots as we're going through with this. One of the great features too, you don't have to stand back as far as you do with a 135, and I've showed that in a separate video how far you did have to stand back with the 135 compared to the 105. So if you were working in tight environments, this has an advantage due to the fact that you can get much closer to your subject. You can buy filters for this as well, they are available. But overall, been really impressed with how this has worked. In fact, I'd love to buy one, and I thought that that's maybe something that I do in the future due to the focusing distance, or what I mean by that is you don't have to stand so far back like you do with a 135. I did want to thank C.R.Kennedy for lending me this lens. In fact, I don't want to give it back to them, but I have to. Apart from that, let me know down below if there's any questions you'd like to ask about this. And apart from that, I'll see you all soon in the next video. Bye for now.